What's up, nerds and turds? Welcome back to Indies Nuts Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Fontana, and with me are my two brosifs from. All right, we're gonna cut
Other
the shtick.
Moses.
We're gonna cut the shtick.
Cut them both.
I feel
nerds
like
and turds.
no, nerds and
maybe.
turds is staying.
That's staying.
That's gotta stay.
That's the
Yeah.
thing now we do.
Nerds,
All
and,
right.
Nerds and
turds
turds.
is an Indies Nuts thing.
Original.
Thing. Yeah.
Original.
It's here to stay.
Indies nuts, nerds and turds.
Nerds and turds.
Exclusive.
Indies Nuts Podcast.
All right, keep it.
It
Keep
works. Yeah, we got Andy Asimakis over here. We got Missed Enough, aka Matt Murray. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
I'm like, this is a chill episode this week because we did one like 4 days ago, like, or at least it
That's
feels
true.
like 4 days ago.
Can I make some remarks, gentlemen?
You could remark all you want.
I have been so buried by indie game releases and news on my email, and we have Steam Next Fest coming up next
Yes.
week.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big week next week.
I'm seeing all this stuff about the Microsoft Bethesda conference and the state of play for Sony and other things. I feel like I'm losing a little interest in the AAA space more lately.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I'm caring a little less about what's coming out of big studios. I don't know if it's an indie quality thing or I'm so deep in them now, but
I have definitely noticed that since we started this podcast,
yeah.
I am like very specifically looking for like I'm searching out indie game news, and then it just so happens that right now there's like this boon of games that is coming out that are all good. Like everything's great. But yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I feel like I've been inundated with indie games.
I'm having issues, like not the opposite issue, but I'm having like so I have ADHD and I have OCD. Those are the two diagnosed things that I have. And with the sheer amount of stuff that is being thrown in my brain from the indie game sphere is actually overwhelming me to the point where I'm starting to scale back. Like, instead of saying I'm going to play 12 this week, I'm like, I'm going to play the one I really like this week. So, like,
Good idea.
Yeah, like, I just, just to get into our ventures in indie gaming, I've pretty much been focused on V Rising. I really want to experience V Rising for what it all has to offer. Like, I understand now how the game is going to continue the loop that it presented to me in the first 10 hours. Now that I'm 20 hours in, like, I get it. The possibilities are endless for me, so I think I'm gonna keep playing this game until there's really nothing else for me to do. But I do have a couple of games on my list, and I'll just give a very quick rundown of that when we get into the indie game adventures. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Indies Nuts Podcast, the internet's #1 indie game news, reviews, previews podcast that you've never heard of, probably. We post each and every week for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home, Spotify. And of course, you can find our podcast, video versions of our podcast on youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. And if you want to support us on Patreon, it's so simple. Go to patreon.com/dualscreens. That's right. It's not NDS Podcast like I've been saying the last 8 months since I've changed it. It's Dual Screens
What an asshole.
Dual Screens.
Well, no wonder we're getting no traffic.
Yeah, that's why. It's not like we got like a tweet that was like, "Hey, this link doesn't work," or "Hey, I'm trying to give you money. What happened?" So it's just people found it
coming.
or they don't.
Nobody's
So
coming.
we revamped the Patreon. We got some really cool stuff there. Now you can join the Sticker of the Month Club, where we're gonna send you, and this is gonna start. Technically it's next month, but it's for June, like, because everybody gets charged for June in July. So technically all of that stuff, all those rewards will be sent out on the first couple of days of July.
Shit, I gotta make stickers.
Yes, you do. I actually started a folder for you on Drive that you can print
great.
those stickers. So I did.
Right.
It's on our Drive. But I digress. Yeah, you could do that. You could join us on bonus content and all that fun stuff. Early access to shows. As a matter of fact, you're actually going to get 2 early access shows this week, because we posted one yesterday, and then the interview that we got and did today is technically going to go up now this week instead of the show that we already put up for early access.
There you go.
So we're gonna have 2 early access shows up for
Bringing
you
this
the
week.
content.
So there you go. Bring on the content. Bring on the funk. Yeah, so why don't we just dive right in, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, is there anything new on dual screens, whether it's on our YouTube channel or our website? What do we got, Andy?
Well, we have a lovely first level playthrough of a game called Samurai Riot on our
Yes.
YouTube channel,
Mhm.
courtesy of one Stephen Fontana.
That's me. You
Hey.
could see the cool thing about that. So I recorded that. That's my first time playing the game. Like, I turned the game on and I recorded, and you could see me learning the game.
Mhm.
Like, they don't teach you. Like, it's not like press A to do this, press B to do this. Here's your special. Like, you could see me being like, oh, okay, this is what you do. So if you really want a true first look, not practice the game for 4 hours, Andy.
Why'd you say it like that,
no
Steve?
boss damage. What is going on with my image all of a sudden? Why
You
am I
know,
cutting you off? What is going on?
why? This,
There we
you keep saying this. Like,
Uh-huh.
how else do you get good at shit? I don't understand what the idea is. Like,
Mhm.
do you dislike professional sports players?
Some of us
Oh,
don't.
you
Some of us,
practice for the last 20
no,
years.
no, Andy. See,
I'm like,
see,
I'm trying
How
to
are you this
understand
good
the
at
logic.
baseball?
They
Oh,
don't-
well, you've
they don't-
practiced clearly.
they don't
trying to
play the
understand.
game. They don't play like the game
I don't
and
get it.
rehearse it, and then play the game back on TV where they
No,
actually got all their hits.
Steven,
Andy.
It's a self-imposed challenge. I like the extra challenge.
Well, how about you record the challenge? Record your 4 hours of failure, and then
It's
you,
not
and
for,
and
A, it is
part
A.
5. It's your success. Okay.
Listen, it is
That's
not 4
actually no.
hours. A
No.
of all. And
This
B
is a
of
great
all.
idea, right? Because you could post like that could be the title of these videos, right? 4 hours of failure,
Oh my
and
god.
then
Now,
the other
listen,
video, the accompanying video, is
I
no
have-
damage run.
if you want to go that route, there's a better solution. I could
You
legit
could
just
stream.
I could stream failure
Yeah.
and just cut out the
Stream fail.
victory. Yeah,
For the first time in your life.
it's an idea. Yeah.
It is an idea. We also have. Did we talk about your review on this last episode?
Which one?
Wasn't there a review that went up this weekend? Am I imagining things?
KO was like 2 weeks ago.
No.
dude.
Jimmy. Didn't Jimmy put up
Oh,
a
the
review?
big con.
Yeah, the big
Oh
con.
yeah,
I
we
think
did talk about that.
last
Yes, we
time.
did. We did
Yeah.
talk about
We
that.
did.
Okay, very good.
Future guest of the other show we do on a weekly basis, the Dual
Yes.
Screens
The
podcast.
Dual Screens podcast. That's right.
Mhm.
All right, guys, let's get into the indie game adventures. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm playing V Rising, and real quickly, I'm just going to tell you what's on my docket for this week, if you guys don't mind. But I'm going to
Don't mind at all.
I think we spoke about this game, Andy. It might have been on crossplay, but I'm going to try Eurogun.
Oh, you're a gun.
I'm going to finally get into Eurogun that we saw at PAX. I'm going to get in there, so I'll have some thoughts on
Dude.
that.
Which reminds me, also, they want to come on the show, but they're a weekday only scenario.
Indeed.
So
Well-
you gotta carve out a slot.
You and Taylor, do it up.
All right.
There's the other one that I wanted to do is Dark Quest board game. I got that a while ago,
Oh yeah, you
um,
mentioned that before.
and
What is this?
it's just called Dark Quest board game. It is, I believe it's an early access. Yes, it's in
Mhm,
early
yeah.
access. It's $18. It's in the Dark Quest universe, but it's a board game version of the world, and I've never played Dark Quest, but I love card games, and it's a roguelike adventure board game where you build a party, draw adventure cards, roll dice, and fight monsters to defeat the sorcerer and his magic. It's got mixed reviews recently. It's got it came out in early access on May 4th. I'm just interested. I like dungeon crawly games.
It looks great.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's basically the kind of game I would buy and shove in a closet and not have anybody to play with. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to that. That's what's going to be on my docket this week. But we already spoke about V Rising. So gentlemen, let me kick it to you. You guys have been playing a game that I'm very jealous of and totally want to play.
It's so good.
Yeah, I played 4 hours apparently of Soldiers to beat a boss. No, Soldiers is it is a Metroidvania game.
I'm sorry to cut you off. We spoke about
Yeah.
this with Taylor.
We did
on the last show.
very very briefly.
Well, you
on the
weren't
last-
there.
And no, Indies Nuts. You mentioned it, Indies Nuts too.
You weren't there.
But we mentioned it in Indies Nuts.
You?
Indies nuts.
Yes, it was mentioned
Okay.
briefly.
You mentioned it briefly, but we spoke about it on crossplay. Is that what it was? Didn't you and Taylor talk about Soldiers?
You talking about me?
Yeah,
Did we talk about soldiers? Maybe a little bit. I don't remember. You're
we do too many shows.
I think you're crossing
yeah,
the
you're
streams,
crossing
dude.
the
We're
streams,
doing too
man.
many
I don't know.
shows.
You're like, our articles going up, man.
How
I
many
don't
days
know
are
what's
in a week?
happening.
All right, talk to me about Soldiers.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So Soldiers, I was playing a lot of it. Again, the aforementioned let me not get hit during boss fights because I'm a madman. And it's fun to show off a little bit when I play these games. Because it's in my hands. That it's in the muscle memory playing those kind of games.
Yeah.
But when I went to look for a description of the game on their Steam page, I was very shocked to learn that it was a mixed review game. And I am loving the shit out of it. I can't understand why it's not connecting with people the way I am with the game. And it has a very challenging aspect of it where I feel like 4 hits and you die. Got that going for it. Enemies are very much HP sponges.
Yeah.
And they give you very little experience points. Now I'm just saying shit that I don't like about the game that I've noticed after playing it for like 20 plus hours.
Yeah, I feel like I never level up.
Yeah. But I always at the right time level up. When I'm like about to die, I level up, health gets refilled.
Yeah, and you're good
And
now.
I can go on for another round.
Oh yeah, we did talk about this because you told me I have to be the warrior.
Yes.
something.
on
Right.
Indies
Yeah, we
Nuts.
talked about it really briefly.
It was like at the end of this segment
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
previous show.
And so, because Andy is playing the mage,
Yes.
I'm playing the scout, and so
Right.
you
Yes.
need to play the soldier, because then we
Right,
can have the
so-
trifecta.
So loving the mage, not your traditional mage character. You can't just sit back and kite enemies and then call it a day. You have to get within like a close range to actually attack them, which is interesting. I have at this point 2 elemental orbs, one of fire and one of sand. And I'm only like less than halfway through the game. I'm like 6 bosses deep
Yeah,
at this
it's
point.
crazy.
I'm in some pyramid right now. I'm like locked in it and I can't leave because I pissed
Uh-oh.
off Anubis apparently.
Uh-oh.
So get ready for that bullshit.
I hate
Matt.
pissing off noobs. I do that all the time in Call of Duty.
A noob piss.
Oh, a
Yes.
noob piss.
That's
Got
a
Yeah,
new
You got
piss.
it, right?
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand the
got it.
reference.
But I'm like fucking loving it, guys. Like
Yeah.
whatever the
I'm right-
reviews say, like I'm
Yeah.
really into it.
I am with you. I think that I have now determined that I'm actually just worse at video games than you are.
Mm.
Like, I must be the middle ground between you and Steve, where
Like
like I'm kind of good, but I'm not like Andy good. You know what I mean? I'm not like Steve bad, but I'm not like Andy,
Andy
good.
good.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is
I'm
hurtful.
just-
You're
I'm saying-
you're
This-
middling,
this is
middling,
hurtful.
middling
I'm-
Matt. You know?
yeah, I'm like middle Matt, right?
yeah, middle
You know?
Matt.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm having a really good time with it, but I
Yeah.
can totally understand some of the mixed reviews because it doesn't really prep you for the type of game it is.
Right.
It doesn't do a good job of that. Or I guess that's not a good way to say it, right? Because how do you teach the fact that it's going to be a Metroidvania Souls-like? aside
Yeah,
from just
they-
like kind of throwing you into it, right?
They call it with crunchy Souls-like mechanics.
Yeah.
So while you don't lose like experience points when you die, it's just you'll die
You die a lot.
often.
Yeah. And so I think my experience with the scout who is an archer, I think maybe needs a buff. Because it seems like people who are playing with the mage or the warrior are having a much easier time than I am. But he's fun. He has like 3 arrows that he can shoot out, and you can like throw your bow to refresh your arrows. It's like a limited quantity, and they'll refresh on their own, but the bow makes it faster. And he's fun, but like I have to be so accurate with my shots because there's no homing whatsoever. And the throwing the bow has like a absurdly short range for him being a rage character. So like if I'm far away and I shoot my 3 arrows, I have to like rush down an enemy to throw my bow to then like rush out and shoot again.
Stick and move,
Or I can-
man.
Yeah, stick and move. But then like by the time I move, I'm dead.
Do you have to hit the enemy with the bow to recharge your arrows?
Yeah, so it's all on hit.
Interesting.
It's really fun though, and like the art style really, I think last week I said it, but it still does kind of remind me of like a really fantasy, like high fantasy, chunky, like Metal Slug kind of
Mhm,
vibes I'm
yeah.
getting from it. And I've downed the first boss, but he annihilated me for like fucking 2 hours, and I didn't no hit him, but I did beat him.
Did you watch my video?
Yeah, I did watch a video, you jerk.
Oh, on that note, just for you, Steve, I do have all of my failures saved on my hard drive.
Oh, good.
All saved. Listen,
We
on
can make
average,
a compilation. We
our-
can make a compilation once a month called "The Many Failures of Andy."
I think that's great TikTok content.
hour and a half is what it takes to really like get it down
Dial it in.
and do it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
to be
But yeah,
honest. Yeah.
I think this is a great game. I don't think that I can understand the mixed-ish reviews, but
Right.
for real, it should be like a mostly positive. It's a really
Yeah.
great game. The soundtrack is great. Sprite work is incredible. The lighting is actually really cool and plays a
Mhm.
big element in a lot of the
I
game.
love the animation. Like
Yeah.
the way
Oh,
the
yeah.
characters
So good.
move and everything. It looks beautiful.
The one caveat I'll say is that there's a tiny bit of input lag. There's a very small amount of input lag, and I don't know where it comes from or if it's intentional or not, but it does take some getting used to, and I hope that they patch
Yeah.
they can patch that. But then by the time that they patch it, I'm gonna be so used to it that when they patch it, it's gonna fuck
It's
all my shit up.
broken now.
Yeah.
Probably not. You're probably gonna be like, oh, look, the button does exactly what I
Oh,
want
it does
to
the
do.
thing now. Yeah, that's fair.
Cool.
And you too can no hit bosses.
Yeah.
Another game that we are actually talking about on crossplay was Peglin, and
Yeah.
now here we are. It's on our list again.
I am full balls deep into this game now. So I actually read Taylor's article, and it convinced me to get the game. Like literally, I finished helping him edit it a little bit, and by the time I got to the end, I literally messaged him directly and was like, "I'm buying it now. Like, good job, your fucking article worked because I'm buying it right now. I just bought it." And then I played through my first run. and it
Power
was
of the written word.
for real. And it's a great
Mm,
article
mm,
too.
mm.
It's a great perspective. But,
Dualscreens.com.
so I think I like this more than Round Guard, which is the other Peggle like that I was playing.
That was the one that you brought to the table a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, so Round Guard I think has more charm, like natural charm, and its charm is more on its surface, whereas Peglin is a deeper game that is definitely more of a roguelike, where you're picking up items, you're choosing your path, and you're building a run as opposed to just kind of it being like a RPG Diablo, like light Diablo-esque loot fest.
Hmm.
And my first or second run, I just had like a insanely powerful run where like I could refresh the board at will, and I was hitting tons of pegs and like getting it just the serotonin blasts that happen in
So
your
many
brain while
pegs.
you're playing this, and the pegs that they hit, and then they refresh and they all fucking pop back up, and the ball's still bouncing, and it is great. It is really fun, and I would highly suggest that everybody give this a go at all. Like, just if you like video games and you like your brain firing off synapses.
First of all, if you don't like video games, why
What
are you listening
listen
to
this
this?
podcast? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Because this is like the video games most
so
people
silly.
don't know about. So
Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah,
welcome,
you're pretty
welcome.
deep.
Now we have a new little segment here. Well, at least Andy, unless there's something on that you're playing that's not on the list.
Nope. I'm good.
We have the cheap ass game of the week. And Matt, you brought this to the table this week. You suggested the segment. So this is going to be all about a really super affordable game that is out there that may be out for years for all we know, but is pretty cool. And you want to give it a little bit of a shout out. So why don't you tell us about this week's cheap ass game of the week?
Yeah, so just in general, I don't know. I was surfing the eShop the other day, and I noticed that there is just a like litany of $3.99, $2.99, $1.99, $5.99 games that are on sale sometimes for 99 cents or whatever, and then
79 cents.
79 cents are
Yeah.
like marked up to $250, and they're $2.50 for some reason. Who fucking knows why the developer did that? Probably for visibility. And then there's these games that exist actually on Steam as well. And so this game, Destropolis, caught my eye. It is $5.99 on Steam regularly. It was $2.99 on sale on the eShop.
Oh, I know this game.
This is a voxel-based
Mm.
arena survival shooter. It's like a twin stick
baby.
shooter. and you are just this tiny diamond chevron that moves around a matrix white grid of nondescript city, and there are just constantly red blocks and different enemies that will pop up as you level up, moving directly towards you at all times, right? Like you are the epicenter.
You're the magnet.
You're the magnet for the enemies.
Right.
And you know, as you kill them, you gain experience and you level up. And as you level up, you can pick from a set of traits every time you level up, and you kind of build a run from there. And there are different weapons you can pick up and different power-ups that you can get, like double damage, or one of my favorites is this vortex, where like when you pick up the vortex, it creates a vortex where you picked it up, and now recenters all these red blocks coming into the center there instead of you for a limited
And
time.
then you could focus all your damage
Damn.
onto them. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
That's
like
dope.
Geometry Wars, but like isometric twin shooter.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. And then as you level up, instead of just blocks, there's like towers that can shoot at you, and then like pyramids that will, you know. And the last time I played, I actually got to the highest level I'd ever got in this like fucking giant obelisk that spit rays out from every side that I didn't feel like I could actually kill. Popped up in the middle and like wrecked me. But it's really cool because like all of the buildings are destructible, and so as you're killing all these red orbs, the environment is also dying, but then there's a power up that rebuilds the city. It's just like this weird,
That's cool.
colorful ballet. It's awesome. It's very fun.
I like
That-
it.
And
That's
for
the-
$2.99, you could
Yeah,
do
for
that.
That is the
price.
epitome of like arcade game play.
Literally.
Like that's like the Stardust sweet spot
Yeah.
kind of game. I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. And so I'm gonna try to bring something like this to the table every week, or if you guys find a cheap game that you
Oh,
like,
sure.
feel free to.
Yeah.
I was looking. I found a couple that I wanted to dive in. If they're free to play,
Mhm.
would that fit into this, or is that like its own category?
I think if you want to tack that on to this segment, I am totally fine with it. Free is just
Fancy.
as good as cheap.
Beautiful. Andy,
Love it. Yes.
the Indie News Report is starting off fucking hot. Blossom Tales 2
Oh my god.
has a release date.
Oh my god.
It has a release date. Now it's a YouTube video, so if I open up this thing, it's going to be very loud. So I'm going to try and do this stealthily.
While
Okay,
you
it was
do
it
that-
was muted.
August-
We're good. We're good. We're good.
August
Okay.
16th is
Yes,
the date.
August 16. But Blossom Tales is phenomenal. And I cannot wait for the sequel to this game. Andy, does this get your jollies in a twist here?
I mean, listen, these are former guests of the show.
Yes, indeed.
So you know,
From,
really
like,
good friends of ours.
Back in the day.
Way back.
Way back. They were actually I had to hunt them down. They were I emailed them several times, and then I finally got them on Twitter, and then got them on the show.
The Twit Space.
But you know, I was doing my rounds of let me see what former guests are doing, like where are they now? I get in that mode sometimes.
Yep.
I had no idea that they were doing a sequel until very recently. And then I was like, oh
believe
shit,
it.
now it's coming out. Like, you know, in like 2 months' time. So I'm very excited about that. It looks like the sprite work looks more SNES style than NES, and I am here for all of it.
Yeah.
Great game, great Zelda inspired dungeon crawler. Gets better with the sequel, and I'm very excited.
Episode 110 of Nintendo Dual Screens podcast.
Wow.
That-
That's
Wow.
forever ago. Holy crap.
Yeah.
For those wondering, that
4
was
years?
August 5th, 2019.
Oh my god, it's gonna be like 3 years to the date when the
Almost
sequel
3
comes
years.
out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That was
I
when
can't
we
do math.
As a matter of fact, it was this stretch of interviews that made us refocus to be just interview. Like this
Yeah.
was when we started to really think about
Yeah.
doing that.
Towards the end, we were like, long form is the way to go, and also not ask people about Nintendo news when they want to promote their game and they want to learn more about your game. What are your thoughts on, you know, Mario's nipples in this news piece? It's fun. It is fun topic to discussion as well, but
I think the way that you interact with devs now with the rapid fire at the end is perfect.
that's what, yeah.
We did
That is-
17 more Nintendo dual screens episodes before we changed. But I think we changed to just being an interview
We had some.
format.
We had some. Not to go off topic, but we did do a handful of like really high profile developers
Yeah.
that we
I
gave them
remember
the
that.
whole show. We were like, take the whole show.
Yeah,
To
for
cover
sure.
your game, and we liked that. And that's where
There were
the,
some guests that did like a half an hour with us, and then we like cut away and just did the rest of the
Right.
show ourselves too, depending on how
Mhm.
busy they were and all that stuff. Yeah, so I mean, this is great. Blossom Tales, if you haven't played it already, it's an ode to A Link to the Past, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a really, really well written story too. I cannot recommend that game enough, and now we're gonna get another one. Oh my god, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
What else we got on this list here? Who threw this in here? This was Matt. I think you were the kind of like the Sherpa of our indie news report this week.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, I
Doing
kind
stuff.
of rounded up some stuff that I'd been looking at. So this is a sequel to a game that's called Deliver Us Mars. It's a sequel to a
Mhm.
game that I have no idea what it is, called Deliver Us the Moon. Or no, this is Deliver Us Moon. I'm confused. It's one of the two.
Hang on.
This is Deliver Us
Deliver
Mars.
Us Mars shows off
Yeah.
action-packed traversal and
Someone's
new gameplay.
delivering a
You got it.
sequel.
Yeah, I got it right the first
I
time.
mean, we're going from the moon to
To
you know what I
Mars.
mean? Like it's
Yeah.
further.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this makes sense.
It's
yeah.
yeah.
Logistically.
But so I didn't know what the first game was. I didn't know what this game was, and I was just kind of making my rounds on the internet this week, and I saw this, and I watched the gameplay video, and it looks like a super fun, like single player survivally third person type game. It looks amazing. I don't know if you guys watched the trailer that's in the article, but
Yep.
it looks really freaking cool, and the quality of the game is really surprising. Like surprisingly high. Like has kind of some reminds me a little bit of Returnal in its production and its presentation. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this looked really cool, and I'm very excited.
Yeah,
to
you're-
check
you're-
out the original one.
You're a jettisoned space person. You're alone, and you're on Mars. But Mars
for
has
your
been,
dad.
yeah, and Mars has been at this point colonized in some way. There's like mining thing, it's got survival, but it's also got like a sort of adventure game. It looks more like a linear story
Yeah.
than a survival game.
Yep. Absolutely.
Which again, we neither of us have played Deliver Us the Moon, so maybe we check that out. But just to see if this is something that would pique our interest.
I feel like just looking at this trailer, I know that I would like it.
Oh yeah,
Because these are the types of games like back in like the PS2, PS3 era that I lived on.
Totes McGoats. Now you put another game I've never heard of on here.
Stone Keeper.
Yeah, what do we got?
So this is like a fun little indie tower defense-y type game. So you are the owner and proprietor of this dome on the moon. And
Look at you in space
What's up
this
with the
week.
moon theme this week?
I don't know, man. But so this is going to be at Next Fest next week, but they're releasing a new demo. So you are the proprietor of this tiny little dome. It has a gun on it. Waves of enemies come and attack you, and in between these waves, you actually dive beneath the dome to gather resources,
That's
and
kinda
come back
cool.
up and spend those resources on upgrading your dome for future waves. It's a pretty simple gameplay loop.
Yeah,
But it's really effective and gets very tense quickly because you have you have your timer going for when the next wave is going to hit. As you mine resources, you have to kind of dig deeper, and you're not only upgrading your dome, but also upgrading like the speed at which you can move and how much weight you can bring back with you and all this stuff. And so it's like very physics based. It's not like you're not like mining things and they're going into your inventory. You're like physically carrying them back with you.
yeah, you're like dragging them behind you, and
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. This was actually at PAX, I think. But I had played the original demo of it quite a while ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
looks
I'm excited
looks
to
really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this new demo entails. It's actually out. The demo I think is out now. And then they're also going to be taking part in Next Fest next week.
Indeed.
Oh, that looks really good, actually. Oh
Yeah.
wow, look at that.
Right?
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
really cool.
Oh, I like this a lot, Matthew. It's an
Listen,
Andy-ass Andy game. Holy shit.
I like indie games, guys.
Yeah.
Indie
as much.
games do be fun.
They do be a good
Kickstarter of the
time.
week. Didn't we do this one last time?
Yeah, but so I didn't know if anybody else had anything, so I didn't get rid of it.
What's on the list?
It's Anton
It's
Blast, but
Anton
we spoke
Blast.
about that last week.
Perfect, guys. This week, Axolotl
Yes.
Oh
Axolotl,
yeah.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah.
just launched their Kickstarter campaign.
Yes. And
Asking-
annihilated.
God, they wanted 16K. They're currently at $72,000 with 22 days to go. Funded in 4 hours, you guys.
I think I originally shared
Oh
this
my
game
God.
with you in the DS
You did. In the
Discord.
Discord, yeah.
I didn't know that they were going to launch a Kickstarter. That's fantastic.
Yep.
You would have if
I
you listened
know.
to our interview,
Well, we were
Yep.
saving it for this.
but it's in early access.
Kickstarter.
We posted it like yesterday in early access.
Fucking jerk. Yeah, would have if you listen to this content that you don't
Don't have access to,
probably have
maybe.
access to. You fucking jerk.
You dumb idiot. Yeah, no, Axolotl is your
What a-
roguelike.
Man, what a from the
shmup.
hip show this is.
This is great. I'm
This
I'm
This is
truly
fantastic.
loving
I'm having a
this
great
week.
time. Yeah.
This week is a lot of fun. I actually, yeah. So Axolotl, AK dash
Solotl.
Zolotl.
Axolotl.
Really great interview. That's going to go up next week because this week we're actually putting up the Anton Blast interview, which Andy and I wrapped up about an hour ago.
Look at us. We're so productive.
So all sorts of content for you on dual screens. You gotta follow us over there. This is basically just one big commercial for every other thing we do.
Yeah, pretty much.
I do want to talk about because I wasn't sure if we were gonna have much to talk about, and it looks like we've already a half an hour in, but I did want to talk about just the indie game sphere in general, like how we kicked off the show and we were talking about how Andy's been doing nothing but indies. You Matt, you've been plugged into a point where you feel like you've never been plugged in before. I feel like I'm in an overwhelmed space as far as like what I should be playing, how I could possibly juggle all of this stuff. So let's just have a little quick open discussion just about where indies are right now, and just there's no agenda, there's no question I'm gonna ask. It's just kind of chatting because I feel like we're at a spot right now where things have never been more easily discovered and yet simultaneously buried in the exact same like
Place.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like when we started Nintendo dual screens, the Switch was like the place for indies because it was so discoverable. It was like, okay, here's 6 games this month. Check them out. This is what you're going to be playing on your Switch because Nintendo ain't going to put anything out for a while. Or if they do, it's going to be $70 for all of time.
Right.
So like those games, and now all of a sudden they're getting buried. They're getting, there's just shovelware, there's stuff being put on there. And people were like, oh, we hope this doesn't become Steam. But now I found Steam is like getting way better about promoting these new games that are coming out, and early access is much less of a faux pas lately, and it's being refined in how it's being used, like because Andy, you remember early access had like a connotation to it. It was like, oh, your game's not finished, you just want money.
It was.
It definitely used to be. It definitely used to be that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day, it had like this sort of
Not even that long ago either.
Like
yeah,
buy at your own risk.
like
kind
the
of
stigma,
a,
yeah, like
kind
the,
of a thing.
the stigma was like, listen, this is not really anywhere near close to being a finished game yet. It's more of like a high polished concept, and we need more cash to infuse into this idea to make it more fleshed out. But I feel now, like having recently played, games like Eurogun, which you're gonna play soon, Steve, and there was and V Rising, another great example.
Yeah, V-Rising, yep.
That feel like they could pass for like a version 1.0 release in early access.
Yeah.
It's just like the scope has grown so much for these games that we're getting a really fleshed out early access release, and they want to just build off of a really great foundation. It's like way back when it was like the foundation for a house. I'm gonna build my house on this plot of land that was like 10 years ago, early access. Now it's like I want to add levels
Yeah.
to this house. That's what it feels like today.
I think V
Yes.
Rising is
Yeah.
like V Rising is like the prime example of that.
Yeah.
And I think early access has become it focused good developers, because
Mhm.
good developers are now like, let's make a fully content sustained, I don't want to say
Mhm.
complete, but content sustained scope. Here's the game, here's what the game is, and its functions, it's complete. We have other things we want to do, and depending on your feedback and our community and the time that we are allowed, that we can afford because of the early access, we will expand upon this over time. Like, you're getting much more complete experiences in early access. Like, even years ago when we got Monster Crown in its early access, like, that game changed so much, but it was still a game. Like, in early access, it was still it had bugs, yes, it had whatever, but it was a content complete game. Like, their scope, what they wanted to do, or what they, the basics of what they wanted to do was done, and then it was all about fine tuning and fixing based on community feedback.
Yeah, the main difference I see now lately is when I used to see the word early access, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait until
Yeah.
it's more baked. But now I feel when I see it, I am more easily able to invest, because I think nowadays you get more bang for your buck. Like, there's more of a meaty game now than there was back then.
Yeah, I think like we went from this idea that it's like a proposed idea, right? Like, hey, here's the idea from a game, to it being a mission statement where it's them kind of releasing like their vision for what their game is and giving you the fullest extent of their game that they are able to at that time, where they think it's going to hook you, right? And take you along for the ride. And I think it's become that way because there was that weird stigma, and early access games were buy at your own risk, and really looked down on in a lot of the gaming community. And developers turn that around. Motion Twin is a big one, right? Dead Cells
Oh, hell yeah.
is a huge reason that I think, or one of the reasons that this got turned around, because their early access and their final game were drastically different. If you bought into their really early access, it was like 2 levels, and their final product was like so drastically different from what it was, but their mission statement was there, and you felt like, oh shit, these guys get it. And to be where they are now compared to where they were then.
Hades too.
Hades was,
similar.
and Hades was in that epic. And I think they kind of reinvented that, what it meant, because like it felt like almost like it was like a tech demo.
Yeah,
was what early access was, and it was like, you want to run around a barren world with missing assets, where shit doesn't work, but we promise it's gonna work. Like, you can't promise that.
I mean, really, Minecraft is like the OG early access, right? You could buy that shit in alpha for like fucking $10 back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was like nothing. It was like fucking punch some wood and eat dirt or some shit.
Yeah, right.
And they were like, have fun, and people were like, this is great.
I sure fucking will. I sure will, bud. But also, Minecraft was supported like every day. Like every day, it seemed like there was just an update of like, hey, I added fire. We added
early
water.
days of Minecraft.
We added mud.
Like, it was a whole different game, but that was like the OG. Like, all right, if you buy in now, like, you have the game forever, and we're gonna support it till the fucking end of the earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the earth becomes fucking Minecraft.
Meanwhile, No Man's Ski should have been just called an early access. Like, that original launch should have just been early access, but like at that point, it had the stigma.
Right.
Yeah.
If it came out now in the condition that it came out 3 years ago and was called early access, I think it would have had less of a problem.
Okay, I think that depending on the path that it took, that could have been true, but because of the path that game took, that would not have been true. only because they had the backing of Sony, and the hype train behind that game got so fucking huge.
Right.
And maybe if they did take more of a Minecraft approach where it was like a grassroots, like nobody fucking knew about Minecraft when it first came out, right? It was like a grassroots thing, word of mouth. And maybe if they had taken that approach, it could have worked that way. But once they got the backing of Sony, and Sean Murray was on VGX talking about like his insane fucking vision for what this game was
A
going to be.
quadrillion planets or some
Yeah,
shit
and I
like
mean
that.
it's
Yeah,
true.
It is.
It
Yeah.
is true. It's technically true, but what they released on release day, I don't know if it being early access, coming from where they came from, if that being
But,
in
like,
early access would have helped.
I know. Go ahead.
It would have. It would. Here's what it would have done. It would have given them an excuse.
But
For sure.
What it would have done.
I don't know. Like if they say, hey, Sony saw our vision, they're behind us now. So what we're gonna do in 2018, we're gonna release what we're calling an early access build. It's not quite what we want it to be yet, but with your help, with your support, with your early support, we're gonna get there. Here's our map of what we're gonna have in the first 12 months. I think that changes the conversation. I think that like we thought, and this was just an amateur PR person not understanding how to communicate his vision, right? And that's not a slight on him. Like I have difficulty getting my thoughts out in words. Like it's not a slight. It's something that you learn. It's something people go to school for. It's a profession to be able to do this and what to say, what not to say. And nothing of what he said was a lie. It's just he didn't know what we were gonna get to start. Like if he would have communicated it to in the beginning, it takes a lot for Sony to back you, for a big company like that to back you.
Yeah. Well, so I think that's what it is, right? Is he didn't. I think he didn't understand. So you're correct in saying that, like, he just wasn't PR ready, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, I also think at that moment he didn't understand that he was going to get these Sony rocket boosters, and that Sony was going to want to capitalize on the hype that game built. And I always go back and I do think that probably to them, what they shipped initially wasn't what they wanted, right? And
No,
that
that
probably
was
could have,
Sony's fault for sure.
yeah, that could have
Yeah.
baked for another like year or two,
Yeah.
and been totally fine. But you know where it is now, it is like a weird early access redemption story.
Yeah, I think it needed that initial sort of backlash to get it to where it is today. Because I feel if it was launched in any more of a complete state, it may have been enough to leave it as it was. I mean, I'm sure they would have pursued other expansions and
Yep.
grown on the vision, but the fire under the butt wouldn't have been lit to really like redeem the vision.
I
Like
think there's
the-
probably some truth to
it
that.
was
Yeah.
like the reality versus expectation of the game, and they wanted to deliver what that was, and they're still trying to this day with great success. And whether it was part of the plan or it came out of what happened years ago, but the game is still, it looks phenomenal. It's evolved, and it's a completely different game top to bottom, and it says a lot.
Yeah.
For that model.
I actually really want to play it. Like it was
Yeah.
something that I avoided for a really long time, and I feel like starting now I would be so lost, but at the same time like I wouldn't, because it starts you off like so.
It is the chillest MMO you've ever played in your whole life.
Mm,
It is so you can do whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter.
I find it really interesting and amusing how we've talked about early access and it being less of a stigma than it was years ago. Yet no one's breathed the word Star Citizen in this conversation.
I don't want to
yet.
talk about that game. I don't want to talk about that game. That's the game. That's the game that made the stigma, right? That's the one that's
One of 'em.
Jesus.
That's just
the
taking all of
Jesus
the money,
stigma.
and then what have they done with all that money, man? You follow it more than I do.
I mean,
I catch
all right,
glimpses here and
hold on.
there, but like, what is it even?
let's take some steps back here, okay?
Let's take a few steps.
So I am marginally interested in this game, and so I follow it from a distance because the people who love that game, like they really do, they fucking love it.
It's devotion.
It's devotion, but I also
Yeah.
think it's financial investment.
Right.
And from what it is now, there are like these different modules that you can play, or this is my understanding of it, right? So
Correct,
I'm sure
yeah.
that somebody on the internet is going to tell me how fucking
How
wrong I
wrong
am.
you are.
Yeah, but so my understanding is that there are these different modules, and there are different modules that are at different levels of completion. They had a roadmap. They said, "Fuck that, we're not going to have a roadmap anymore. This is what we're going to try to do." It's not a game, right? It takes like a fucking supercomputer to run still at any optimal level at all. It has like some base, like what's that? What's the other Elite Dangerous? It has
Oh
like
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
those
yeah.
kind of vibes,
yeah.
right? Like where like you have a ship and you can fly around and you can do a lot of stuff. It seems like, but it just seems like for the amount of investment that they've gotten over the course of time that the game has been in development, that there should be a much fuller product that they would be able to present than what they currently have. I tried to word that as carefully as I possibly could.
Yeah, that because I feel like the funding is outweighing actual updates.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get more news about how much money gets raised as opposed to what the game is actually becoming. And I don't know what it's supposed to be because I've seen some gameplay trailers and concepts and how it went from like a space exploration thing, but there's now first person aspects to it. The whole like
just really
having
quickly.
yeah, go ahead.
As of November 2021, this game has received $400 million in funding from backers.
I'm just trying to understand.
$400 million.
I can understand on the initial pitch.
So
but what keeps it going?
Do they have cryptocurrency mining in this game?
What are they doing to because they're getting more funding every day.
So there
People
are
still buying into it.
There are some cool things that a friend of mine who plays. So like there was a month or two
Does
ago.
he work for NASA? Is that why he's able to fucking...
No. I don't know. An acquaintance of mine, I talked to him about it because he's like into it. And there was a story about them abandoning the roadmap relatively recently. And I was very interested in how people felt about it. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, you play Star Citizen. Can we talk? And there are some cool things that they're doing. Like there's like this whole VR face in-game thing that they're trying to develop where like you can like talk to people and your like in-game avatar will fucking move and shit.
All right.
And it there's some cool tech that's being developed, but for a game, I don't even know when did this start. Fucking,
but there's no game yet.
But there's no game, so that's my whole point, right? Is that for $400 million, this has been a decade-long development experiment, and it's like a weird cross for the people who have purchased it to bear. But there are people who are like fucking evangelists for this game who swear by it, and I don't know, without experience, I don't know where they're coming from. I know that Purger.
I think we need to get you in on it. I think that's what we need to do.
Oh my god, I don't know, dude. If we get me in on it, we're gonna need to also get me in on a new computer,
right?
But I don't know.
Oh,
It's very interesting. I do think we're in like kind of like this weird golden age of indie games, and we're being flooded with
it's
too much shit.
Just to like circle back to our original point, how I'm like spending less and less time with AAA.
Indie Renaissance.
I also feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword where I want to play quality indie games, but there's so many that I see from so many different outlets and Twitter feeds, and it's like there's this showcase or expo. There's a streamer called Asmon Gold. I don't know if you guys have heard of him before. So I saw him, like he was covering the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. So I saw clips on YouTube. That's how I found him. I was like, oh, he's an actual like Twitch streamer. I had no fucking idea because I don't follow that community. But he's doing his own like indie game expo.
For the love of God, please fix your camera.
It's happening.
It is so blurry.
There you go. There I am.
Viewers just need to put their glasses on.
There I am.
I thought I was going completely. I thought I was
No.
stroking out actually.
Right. Stroking out. I'm going dark. So our good friends, Gory Cuddly Carnage, they're part of this showcase, this indie game expo. And he's like, hey, can you go upvote my game for like best game? I was like, oh yeah, sure, of course. So I go to this list and it's like 30 games. And aside from his and maybe one other, I have no clue about
What any of them
any
are.
other game. And they all look fucking phenomenal. I'm like, how am I gonna play all these games?
How can I in
How
good
can I-
conscience
how can I
vote for
cover them?
Gory? Damn it!
How can I cover them, get them on the show? Like, I can't. There's too many. So
I mean, it really is. It's like this weird explosion, and now
Yeah.
we're even moving into the space where indie games used to mean pixelated platforming
right.
games, and now it's like, oh, your indie game is a fully realized like
Dead Space
3D
game?
action adventure Dead Space game,
I know. And
like,
it's like
with great lighting and tight ass 3D
dude,
modeling.
the,
Like, what-
the crazy shit is like a part of me is envious or misses my AAA centric self where I could only worry about 4 or 5 games in the year.
right.
And that's a clear focus. But
and
this-
I
now
have the
this
games
is-
of services that I'm still playing.
Right.
Damn it!
So there's that. So
That's too much shit.
yeah, man.
All right. I think that's gonna bring us to the end. That's a great conversation. I love it. Maybe we'll revisit it in a couple of months when the news cycle slows down again. That's gonna do it for us, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Matt. Again, if you want to follow us, we're at dual_screens. I'm at Batchild27. Andy's at Pants Guy. Matt is at Missed Enough. That's a Mista with an H, like Mista.
Missed
It's
enough.
not enough. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen
So
it, go watch The Last Dragon.
The Last Dragon?
Mhm.
Okay, I thought that's what you said. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And as always, please be excellent and play more indie games.